Welcome to another episode of Lixor Facets of Design. This is a podcast brought to you by Lixor Global Design. I'm your host, Paul Flowers. I'm the Chief Design and Brand Identity Officer. We're really excited today because we're joined by a guest in our new London studio. We just moved in 4 weeks ago, and we're really excited to be here. We're still in Richmond, still in London, and of course we have studios all over the world. We have studios in New York, in Singapore, Tokyo, Tokonami, London, of course, Dusseldorf, Guangzhou. I think that's all of our studios all over the world. And the reason why we have these studios in the cities because we draw immense inspiration, cultural insights. I've known this individual for more than, I think 20 years. We'll get 26? Into that after. 26 years. No, it can't be. Oh my goodness, that's how old we are. 26 years. Is it really 26 years?
Yep.
So I've known this guest for 26 years. And we've worked together at Philips, designing audio and television and different products. And and I've watched his career over the years, and we'll really get into that, how it's stemmed across all categories of design. So it's going to be really inspiring, and I think it's going to give you a great insight into literally all of the facets of design itself. So I'd like to give a really nice welcome to Andy Vernall. Welcome, Andy.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
How are you?
I'm really, really good. Really good.
So based in London. So again, not the biggest journey you've had to make today.
No, just an hour here. But we've been based here now for 23 years. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, look, obviously we just said, okay, we've known each other for 26 years. Maybe just if you could just introduce yourself. Just who are you?
Yep, I'm Andy Vernall. I'm director and creator of V2 Studios. We have our old brand Vitamin, and then we have our new company Future Natural. So we kind of juggle lots of different faces in lots of different industries, and that's essentially who I am. Creative director to all of those, and just a down-to-earth, hands-on designer every day.
Yeah. And I think that's really interesting, really, and probably will be for the audience, that there's often this preconceived notion that as you mature and you become more senior, that you move away from design, but which you can, of course, and that's fine. But actually, you're still very much hands-on creative.
Absolutely, that's one of the cool things that we decided, myself and my brother Chris. We'd worked in big companies, and we decided that we really wanted to be hands-on. We love design, so we created quite a flat structure to our companies. So we work with everyone on a flat level. We're hands-on every day. We're in the workshops. We're doing every project, getting our hands dirty, as you will. We've never wanted to step away from the more tangible skills of designing. It doesn't mean that we don't get involved in creative direction and going into companies to help innovate, but we love being in our space with the people and actually, designing every day.
Because of course you do lots of strategy work as well, so you do that vast way. Right, so let's just back up because for most of our audience as well, we have obviously lots of different interested parties, but for the younger audience that really interested in how and what sparked your curiosity and creativity, going back to your childhood, what kind of made you move into this area of creativity?
Yeah. Well, actually, it's quite interesting. I've always believed that everything surrounds us affects us. I was really lucky to have a world that I grew up in, which was kind of curated with empathy, craft, and high standards. I had a mother who liked to help everyone. My dad could literally build anything. And then I had a brother who operated on such a high creative level that excellence became just every day. So that was kind of interesting. And it took 29 years to actually appreciate what we had. And we came together and created V2 Studios. And we all work together still. So my mother, she does the accounts. And she's like the mother of all the people that have come through the studio over the years. And we are literally a family.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, incredible. And you get that when you when you visit your studio, when you come in, there is very much that kind of family business feel, which is lovely.
Yeah.
Very special. So obviously your education, so creative, you've kind of, obviously, like you said, mother and father, so there's some empathy there, really important for design. We had Mauro Puccini on a couple of podcasts ago, and he was talking about kindness, very much a similar thing about something that isn't talked enough about, I guess, in design, which is about kindness and empathy. So it's a really important trait, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the things that we kind of live by. I think possibly one of the other things that influenced me that relates to this kindness is I kind of grew up with it's not design related issue, but it's, I grew up with severe allergies.
Yeah.
Now, obviously I was surrounded by kind people, but it kind of shaped my understanding of the things that surrounded me. Yeah. And it kind of made me realize that as designers, we have a responsibility to shape those invisible interactions. Yeah. And that's extremely empathic. And I realize now that some of the best designs are not seen, they're actually felt. Yeah. And those things shape our experience of the world. So yeah, empathy is a massive thing for us.
Okay, so obviously coming from a quite creative and kind house, studying, moving on to your studies. I know you studied at the RCA. What was that like, and how did studying at the RCA? I mean, obviously the Royal College of Art in the UK, it's synonymous with design excellence and creative excellence. How did that shape your creativity? I guess after, I don't know if you did an art foundation, maybe you could take us through that.
Yeah. I did the classic education. I did BA. Before that, I did a foundation course in art and design. And then, I actually took a bit of time out from the design, industrial design education. But later on, I did go to the RCA. Yep. Now, it was quite a entrepreneurial education. It was literally a superstar set of designers that were the tutors. There was Ron Arad, Ross Lovegrove, Michael Marriott, Sam Heck. There were various people they got in. And it kind of taught me that design, you have to be kind of fearless. And also work without boundaries. So literally we could do anything we wanted. The other major thing about the RCA was it was an entrepreneurial education. So throughout the time there, I ended up working. So I ended up working for Ross Lovegrove. Yeah. I ended up doing concept art for Ridley Scott. And various things. So it was not theoretical. It was very tangible skills and understanding how those really, are used in the real world.
Yeah. Okay, let's back up to that Ridley Scott art. What kind of stuff was that? Was that visualization or?
It was literally concept art. It was for adverts and scenes in films. It was very scary. Very scary. I was still pretty young back then. So yeah, it was amazing. One of the things that we kind of didn't talk about was the influence of film in my childhood. I loved it. I literally adored film. Like a 2001 Space Odyssey is one of my favorite films ever. So having the chance to work in the film industry and doing concept art was literally amazing. So that taught me about storytelling, which is something it's part of our DNA now.
Yeah, I guess the really important part, actually, isn't it? When you learn about the narrative in anything you do, because it kind of makes sense and it's a channel how you communicate to the person potentially who's going to use your product, going to buy your product, or interact with your product in different ways. So so that storytelling, we talk about this a lot on the podcast, is a really important part of design and a real skill to develop on top of all the other skills that you need. Yeah. It'd be really nice to just deep dive, a little jump into, because what I found fascinating with your career and your study is, obviously after the RCA, it's still an industrial design degree, but you're doing these other things because you're influenced by film and things. And but you really started to move into that area of play quite early. And I know you and I have discussed like you working on some of the first games, let's say concepts and stuff. Maybe you could take us through that a little bit, that period of your life.
Yeah, sure. Well, I finished my degree, my BA honours, and for some reason I went into games design. There was an opportunity and I thought, wow, I'll absorb this. And it was pretty scary, to be honest, stepping into a world. I had no idea.
And not many industrial designers, I guess, at that phase, right?
Well, yeah, I was probably one of the first industrial designers to go into that area. And it made me realize innovation rarely comes from a place of comfort.
Yeah.
I was thrown in there. We were doing like first motion capture for the Actua soccer and Actua tennis games. I think they preceded FIFA and all those.
I was going to say that, yeah, to the people watching now, probably the younger people as well, it's like that's the equivalent of FIFA, right? So it was a really big deal then.
Yeah.
It was the biggest, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I say, we got forced into this area where I was like, wow, what do? We're doing motion capture. I'm literally copying every person. I think it was 97, where I had to draw every footballer's face and every tennis star's face and then use motion capture to animate them in these games. And that made me realize actually that people don't just fall in love with products, they fall in love with experiences.
Yeah.
And having the ability to design games and these immersive experiences, I mean, it's a wonderful thing. Learning about animation and the techniques there. But that led majorly to my love of play. So such an important thing for everyone.
Yeah.
And later on, we ended up doing a lot of toy design, a lot of games design. And it's quite a privilege and a responsibility to be a part of shaping people's childhood memories.
Yeah.
So we've embraced that, and we love it. We really love it.
Yeah. It's a really good point, actually, because the reason why we did this podcast, Facets of Design, was for creative community, to try to inspire people, to try to unite people, bring them together. And you know, the toys that you design, I know you've worked for lots of companies, Mattel, Hasbro and Lego and all that, and we'll get into that later a bit. But it's like, but those things can really influence the kind of direction children have. So I know research that's been undertaken that children who play with things like Lego and Meccano and those things are, you know, more likely to become architects or designers and things because of that creativity and that exploration and play, how important it is.
Yeah. Look, I totally value this category. I think it is undervalued. And like I say, it's a responsibility to design these things and be part of people's childhood. And it does, you know, if you do it properly, it can really enhance people's. We do developmental toys. We look at all stages of being a child, all the way from literally zero. We do infant stuff all the way through to early teenage years. So it's amazingly important. I think some people think it's a bit superficial, create a bit of plastic, it's gone, you know, at Christmas, then on to the next toy. But honestly, it's so fundamental to bring the knowledge that we have from industrial design and other disciplines into that category. So we're always pushing human-centered design, like research, understanding how kids actually properly play and how they learn. So it's sometimes a challenge to get those the design process in, but we've managed to do it over 23 years now. And we've designed some of the biggest toys that have been out there, from Furby,
of course,
Alfie, iDog. We've designed literally all the way through the games, Monopoly, Jenga, like you name it. We've kind of probably worked on it. And it isn't something we talk about much, but we do really value it.
I think there'll be a lot of people that watch this podcast that will love and hate you in equal measure for Furby.
Yes.
Yeah, because Furby was obviously, like, I think every it's had such a profound effect. You know, there was obviously that big movement from Japan as well, Tamagotchi and all these kind of like play moving into digital and and that kind of like physical and digital come together. And Furby really was, I think, one of the first really mainstream, let's say, products that was moving in that direction, right? And so, and it was amazing. I can remember having a house on it, and it just seemed to live forever and make that noise.
I know we're both loved and hated for that one. I mean, we worked on it for probably over 10 years, doing various versions of the toy. It's immensely successful. Immensely.
It's probably one of the most successful toys, I would imagine, of all time. It'd be interesting to get some data on that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know the actual figures, but it's tens, hundreds of millions of units sold. It's remarkably successful. And it's hard to replicate as well. It's such an icon. We didn't do the original one that was done in the 80s. We helped to bring it back. So shout out to the inventors there. We just tried to bring it up to date and make it relevant, make sure that it interacted properly at the level of the children playing with this stuff, and to annoy parents, basically.
Mission accomplished.
Incredibly
successful, company happy, parents tortured, kids elated. Perfect thing. So, and just to touch on what you were talking before about play, because I know now in a lot of interaction with products and that are more, let's say, more technical, let's say more difficult to use, there's a whole push now to experience and gamification of things to make the knowledge easier to absorb. So I guess your insights into play and how people interact and simplifying that process probably helps in some of the more advanced work that you do as well, I guess. Everything
feeds everything. Honestly, this is one of the beauties of our studio. We quietly do our stuff behind the scenes, and we try and create that meaningful change in different disciplines. But like everything feeds everything. It's one of the lovely things by not being too outspoken about what we do. We don't get siloed, so we don't get put in a category. You're a car designer, you're a C, you do CE. We do everything, and that's the beauty of what we do. We've always said that, if we can create a situation where our designers stay curious, then they stay happy, and we get to do amazing things all over the place. So that's fab.
And I guess you learn from one thing, take that into another, and then if you have to design your second car or second robot or whatever, I guess it just gets better because everything you take forward in the studio just comes back in and reinvents itself, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We kind of believe that innovation comes from ideas crossing boundaries. And it's remarkable how often that happens. And this is why we want to stay diverse.
Yeah, makes sense. We're talking about diversity. So first of all, V2 Studios that you keep saying. So the V is for Vernall. 2 is there are 2 of you. So I guess take this opportunity to say hello to Chris, to your brother. He's the other genius half of I know you two work together. It's admirable that 2 brothers, you work in the way you do, and the depth and breadth of work you do at such a high level, all these things. So Vernall 2, right, is the thing. But maybe we could talk a little bit now about some of the, obviously you've done lots and lots of toys, but like you say, you're not really categorized as toy designers because you've done loads of automotive and robotics. And one thing I'll say is, if you search up V2 Studios, Andy and Chris, you won't see a lot of stuff about them because they're incredibly humble. So I'm always trying to push Andy to share more with the world because we want to inspire young designers, creatives, and people studying. So go and see Andy's website, go and see some of the work him and Chris are doing because it does span across all the different genres of products. And maybe we could just talk a little bit about the robotics and some of the automotive stuff if we can. I know some of the stuff you do is very secretive, but share what you can share would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, well, honestly, we don't like to be categorized in any section, but yes, we work across every sector: robotics, automotive, airline, toy, games. I mean, it's pretty much every area. And we don't really share much of what we do. Probably 90% of what we do is highly confidential. Okay. We share a small percentage out there. We're kind of hungry. So once we've done something, we're quick to move on to the next thing. We probably should publicize more, to be honest. But we love the art of what we do, and we just we want to be hands-on designing stuff. So
and for an array of brands, right? So I mean, I'm just trying to think. So obviously we met Philips when we worked at Philips together, but I know you've worked at Nokia back in the day. You've worked for obviously all the toy brands: Hasbro, Mattel, Lego, Panasonic, I think. Techniques. So as well. Any others that I'm forgetting?
I mean, honestly, without sounding like I'm going through every kind of brand, but we've worked with a lot of CE brands over the years. Yep. So Panasonic, LG, Technics, Nokia. I mean, we've kind of been there for 2.5 decades now behind the scenes. So we just love working with different people. We don't really judge any client, big or small. We just love doing the work.
I think that's probably, and also for people who are watching the podcast and listening to the podcast, maybe from consultancy background, slightly different to in-house design. I guess the longevity in your business and being able to work with so many brands is probably because you are very humble and you're very quiet about who you work for and how you work for them. So it feels like there's less of a conflict of interest. However, if I look at all the brands you work for, they're very competitive, many of them. So
look, we have a very open and honest approach to everything we do. We never take on 2 projects that are going to compete in the market at the same time. We're able to do that because we've spent a long time earning the trust of our clients. And having the right to help them innovate. We would never do 2 things that compete, basically. And that helps us innovate for those clients because they trust us. Also, I would say that no idea is the same. So every time we work for someone, we understand who they are, their company culture. So when we're creating ideas for one brand over another, they're always unique, because we always take on the identity of that brand. We never push our own agendas, or we never try and tell them what they should do. We basically enhance the internal vision and help them kind of bring it to real life.
And so look, a bit into the robotics. I'd love to dive a little bit deep into robotics and into transport. With the transport side of things and mobility in general, what's some of the stuff that we could expect, or what's your view on mobility in the future?
Well, look, historically, it's always been designed for the individual. And I think we've had a phase of, designing for the shared experience. Honestly, now it's designing for community. And it's more about mobility being a source of freedom. So it's got to be completely inclusive, so anyone can take part in mobility. So literally, we're trying to unify that experience, and it is experience first. It's not technology. So everything we're doing at the moment is about curating those experiences, and then the vehicles come second.
Yeah, what interesting you talked about inclusivity and we've got a guest that's coming on our podcast, Patty Moore, in a short period of time, and she's really coined the phrase universal design. She used to work for Raymond Loewy. She's an incredible individual, incredibly insightful about universal design. And I just wondered how does that fit into your design process, this concept of universal design?
Well, it comes full circle when we talked about empathy. So we've had an empathic design process now for 2.5 decades. So we've always done everything based on research and human-centered design. And as a result, we've always tried to be inclusive. So we always try and look at all of the users, not just one, understand the full market and design for that. So universal design is something, there was probably no phrase for it back then, but we were trying to, partake in that and bring it into the design process.
Any tips for how, when you're creating universal design, any tips for how you create something that isn't compromised, but is inclusive?
It's very, very complicated,
Yeah,
and
yes,
it depends on the industry. I mean, you can't always be fully inclusive with mobility. You probably can,
yeah,
but you always have to have a degree of personalization. So it has to be adaptable.
yeah,
It can't just be one thing and never anything else. So yeah, we want to be inclusive, but we want to enable it enough that you can still have a personal experience with that.
yeah,
So look, if you're in mobility, you can kind of do that in a category like CE or whatever, where you have a particular user.
yeah.
Inclusivity is harder because you have a core category that you're designing for. But yeah, mobility, you can absolutely do. And really, we're designing around communities now rather than a shared experience. So it's kind of gone out that level. It's bigger than just a shared experience.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it? I went to, I think it was years ago when I was at Davos, they were talking, there was a discussion about the future of transportation, and they spoke about a kind of collective in terms of you travel together in a car in a way. So it's kind of semi-shared experience. Then it would go down to the individual, because it's all about obviously individual e-scooters and it's about individual transport. So that would be fragmented. But now it sounds like it's going to come back together again. Is that very much how you see it, or?
Well, again, it's not this concept of individual ownership. I think that's where we buy something because we love it.
Yeah.
I think it's probably not that anymore.
Okay.
There'll still be that, of course. We all like our little toys and stuff like that. But I think it is about these products being shared by full communities. So maybe people don't own that scooter, they don't own that car. Everyone's sharing it, and obviously then you have to create an inclusive system.
Yeah. And what's your view? Obviously, we're in London and stuff with the introduction of e-bikes now that have been around for quite some time now. Do you think they've contributed positively, or?
Hey, look, any solution that's thrown out there for people to try that means that they're not driving all the time. I think all of these things have to be tested and trialed. It's great getting people active and out there. And yeah, I think they work. I mean, clearly they could be designed and improved like most things. That's our whole career, right? Is taking something, seeing how it's used in real life, and then taking it a step further and a step further. So yeah, I mean, it's fab. Yeah.
Robotics. So transport, interesting. Where are we going with robotics? I was at the Goodwood Festival of Speed giving a speech a couple of weeks ago, and they had some MG robots on there, and it never ceases to amaze me. I mean, I've been really interested in robotics. I went to an exhibition in Tokyo a few years ago where I was mesmerized by these robotic drones, but they were quake up swimming around, and but I've just watched that space just grow and expand, become more intelligent, more dexterous. The thing, where's that all going? Are we really going to have, do you think, individual companions and helpers in the future? Where do you think that's going?
Well, yeah, we've been in the robotic space now for quite a while. We started off supporting companies like LG, doing airport robots, robotic lawnmowers, robotic everything, home help, stuff like that. And yeah, I think it was quite a challenging space, like probably 10, 15 years ago. Now they can do what you want them to do. So it's less about, working out how you do stuff and working out what the real jobs of those robotics are. And I think, we've talked previously about our new company, Future Natural. That's where we'll be using our knowledge of like creating commercially successful products and bringing it into the robotics category and then helping with, well, we don't call it sustainability now. We talk about regenerative design. But that's where it can really you can really harness robotics. It can be doing some amazing jobs to help the world.
Yeah. And of course, I mean, when we talk about robotics, people think of literally a robot, I guess, but it's small drones doing smallest, most important task. Maybe because we're there around this area. Maybe you could talk maybe just a little bit about that. How do you think there'll be that expansion of usage for these kind of technologies as components become smaller but also more affordable. I mean, you and I started off when we worked at Philips. A plasma television cost £16,000,
Yeah.
and now they cost like £300, £300. So we've seen the component price drop and access to people. Where do you think that's going to go in that space in terms of miniaturization, usefulness, and then affordability?
Yeah. Well, look, it is affordable. It's completely affordable. I think the major thing is finding the right job for these technologies. Obviously, they can be used for play. They can be used to do like automation around the home. But I think what we're trying to do is find that job that really has value. So those things will exist, and everyone will be able to access those robotics. But with what we're doing, we are trying to find the value in them and basically create products that basically give back and not just extract.
Well, then maybe let's slip in then into this concept, because you spoke about, obviously you have vitamin.
Yeah.
Life Less Ordinary. What was it called?
Life Less
I remember
Ordinary.
Life Less Ordinary.
Yeah. I mean,
I've still got some of your lamps in my house. I've got some of your furniture. Is that still going ahead as well?
It's still going. It's still going. But you know, for us, we kind of pretty much like our clients, we jump through different industries.
Yeah.
That's happily like going on in the background. That's still there. We've always worked in the lifestyle category, doing furniture, lighting, and things like that. Majorly, we did that because it enabled us to follow trends, look at materials, finishes, production, and it also enabled us to get extremely hands-on. So when you work for big companies, they have established infrastructures, things get made easier than you think. We went back down to the basics and started to find manufacturers, work with factories, see how we could build up from the bottom, basically. So doing all our tools ourselves, doing the packaging, doing everything.
Yeah.
So it was an experiment in understanding how you build a brand for yourself. Our focus now, to be honest, is much bigger. V2 has been established now for 2.5 decades. It's running beautifully. We love the work we're doing, but we are moving on to the next chapter.
Yeah.
The next chapter is Future Natural, which is about regenerative design. So it's quite a departure. It's a big undertaking, to be honest.
Let's talk more about Future Natural, because obviously I think with Vitamin and V2, I can see the natural progression. I can see the back and forth, but this is something really ambitious, and it's something I don't. Maybe you can explain a little bit deeper what you're doing, but this is something I haven't heard certainly designers talking about before, and it seems like it's a really, really interesting space and a mind-blowingly big space to be entering into. So
it is. It's massive. As you know, you've probably pointed out as well. Like, we've been quiet in doing what we do. We're happy supporting companies creating, commercially successful products. But Future Natural is a much bigger undertaking. We are no longer talking about sustainability. When we're working for other people, we're fairly reactive. Future Natural is proactive. So we're not talking about sustainability anymore. We're talking about regenerative futures. So it is not just designing products, but it's designing better products that don't necessarily just extract, they actually give back.
okay.
So that could be in so many different industries. It's so wide. It can go through agriculture, environments, city infrastructures, the living environment. It's big. It's really big.
Well, I think that's the thing, regenerative, right? So you're talking about this in a sense that this thing, like you say, it won't just be a linear interaction, that it does a particular task, but it consumes resources to do that. This thing, you're saying, can make a positive contribution.
Yes.
Can we talk a bit about, I mean, we can't get into detail, I guess, maybe it's some of it's secretive, but how will things make that contribution without the human interaction? will they be completely autonomous, or in the future, do you think? Or
Well, this is kind of where we're going.
Yeah.
Is that it's doing things better,
yeah,
and whereby it's too expensive, too difficult. People don't have the desire to do these things. Automation can support these things, not just extracting, but actually giving back. So that's kind of where we're going with that work. But yeah, it is highly confidential. So it's we're touching on some areas that potentially we can't talk too much about at the
and
moment.
will any of the information about this, will this be on your website at all, or if people are interested in this, is there
There is a
follow
website.
you, or
Yeah, there is a website. I mean, we've just launched. At the moment, we're facing the research and scientific industries. But yeah, at some point we'll be facing anyone who is trying to create a positive change. We will want to work with in some way.
And that'd be really exciting, because I guess, like you say, it's many of these kind of projects are heavily theoretical and research based, but having, obviously you and your brother involved, I'm sure that's gonna, because I know the way you work and I know what you touch gets made, it gets used and is useful. So hopefully you're going to, it's not just going to be a theoretical exercise. I guess what you'll do will bring something that's really beneficial.
Absolutely. That's the whole point. We've spent a long time crafting our skills, and knowing that we can create these whatever it is, we can create those things. So we want to take it into something tangible. We don't want to be just talking theory. We want to make these things happen. That's one of the reasons that we're kind of holding off talking about it, is that we don't want to be kind of pretending that we're doing this stuff. We want to show people that it's real. We'll be using the skills that we've kind of curated over the last 20 odd years to actually make these things happen.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. I'm excited to see where this is going. Actually, I'm sure everybody else will follow you and try to understand where you take this, and also, I guess, will this birth a new type of? We talk about facets of design, but will this birth a new type of designer that will have to think in a different way? And hopefully, you'll be lecturing at the RCA and training some of these designers, and to think in this new way.
Well, look, honestly, I'm just touching the surface right now. I think, when we talk about what we're doing next, you should definitely talk to Chris. He's been doing it for 10 years now. Yeah. It is definitely a learning exercise. We're no longer talking to, say, consumer electronic brands or technology brands per se. We're talking to scientists. We're talking to educators. We're talking to universities. We're trying to bring all of that knowledge in that sometimes is theoretical and actually make it real. So it's a big undertaking, but we're going to take it on.
Well, you often talk about this, and it comes back to the very beginning of our discussion and stuff about empathy and kindness and all those things, about design being potentially a force for good and stuff. So what advice could you give to designers watching this, or creatives, on how they can make the greatest impact? Is there any advice you could give?
Well, we've always tried not to do superficial sustainability claims. We always look inwards first. So from our studio, we've become B Corp. We donate to 1% for the planet. So that's 1% of our turnover we give to social and environmental causes.
That's amazing.
We work for various social enterprises. We support anything like things like Festival of the Girl, Heart of the City. So we basically live it first. Yeah. The other thing that we do is we don't shy away from difficult problems. When you look at sustainability criteria, when you're going through these various certifications, they highlight companies that potentially aren't doing such good things. We kind of believe that even if we help them 1%, we're making a much bigger impact than ignoring them and letting them do it wrong.
Love that.
So that is one thing that we've really made a big difference with some companies that we've worked with there. So that's a big thing for us.
I love that. I love the idea. You're right about getting involved, making more change from the inside. I remember when I wrote my critical justification at university and stuff, it was about a particular product. And after doing all the research, I started to think to myself, God, if I'm a good designer, I'm going to just be designing stuff that's going to create desire. And by definition, if I'm successful, I'm going to create loads of things that create so much waste. And I felt really down about that, and I was reading several books at the time about sustainability that was not new, but it was still quite at the forefront of designing at that time. It was something that was coming in that was being seen more as a responsibility. And I remember just thinking to myself, oh my goodness, like, do I really want to do this profession? I remember I had a lecturer at university that really gave me that insight that said, look, you could go and work for a big company like Philips, and you can introduce one or two small things that reduce the harm that product has, or the drain on resources by a few percentage points, and that's going to do a lot more positive action and have more meaning than just voicing your opinion at the side, getting involved and doing something and changing something.
Yeah, well, we actually have changed our voice a little bit, so we don't really talk about doing less harm anymore. We talk about creating more good.
Yeah.
And this is the difference between sustainability and regenerative futures. We want to be creating products that restore rather than extract, that restore people and planet. So it's a different thought process than just trying to level out on sustainability. We're trying to create things that, yes, you create them, people buy them, but they add value back. Yeah. So it's not about just extraction.
I love that concept of restore rather than just recycle. It's very, very clever. It's like a bee, right? We talk about this. We use this as through one of our values in the company, about this concept of mutuality, that the bee and the flower, they coexist. They really need each other. One can't extract more value from the other. Yeah. Otherwise it falls down, and that ecosystem, it will serve them both well if they have that respect, mutuality.
Yeah. Well, it's probably, in regards to what we're doing with Future Natural, we are trying to level these things out as well, where technology and nature, they're not opposites. Yeah. They should be unified for the greater good. So that's kind of what we're trying to achieve there.
Yeah, I was just thinking when you were talking before as well, because obviously that you do lots, obviously, and you're a big advocate of sustainability and inclusive design and those things, but also just there's another element to V2 as well, which I know you've always taken in really lots of young designers and had interns, and and there's lots of designers that will be listening to this, and students and stuff that listen to this podcast, and they're often thinking, my goodness, some of them that are graduating from university, what next? And and placements in industry are so important, and people like yourselves giving them that first opportunity. And we do at Lixil, we always have interns working in our studios, because we feel like it's really, really important to cultivate, like you say, it really is, to use a metaphor of nature, but it's you need to cultivate that creative generation that's coming through now. And I know it's something that you do. And how important is that kind of that training program that you have, and having interns in young designers?
Well, it's essential. A large percentage of the people that work in our studio were there as an intern.
Yeah.
And I think that empathy that I talked about, that craft that I talked about, that I grew up with, some people talk about it being a family environment, but ours literally is. And so we have always cared about our interns. We've always said that if you come to our studio, you're going to get an amazing mark at the end of it. And they get the insight into the industry. It was like my RCA education. It was entrepreneurial. Yeah. We don't give them projects on the side. They get involved in real life projects. Yeah. We train them up. We help them. And as a result, they see the quality and value that they can give. And they come back and they stay with us. Some of our people have been with us for over 20 years. So our retention rate is massive. Yeah. We've never been a studio that is about numbers. We believe that quality is better than headcount.
Yeah.
and it's much more scalable quality than headcount. So yeah, we invest a lot in our people.
No. And obviously you guys, obviously I know your team and stuff. I met most of the members of your team, and you're very highly skilled, and you always manage to keep your skill set at the forefront. And I know, obviously we've worked together. We had an exhibition in Milan this year for one of our brands, Grower, and you guys helped us with a lot of the visualization, because we don't use external design resources, but we work with individuals when they have a particular skill set like you guys do. It's amazing. And maybe you could just share a little bit of the kind of tools, for the designs out there, the kind of tools you're using in terms of software, in AI and animation, because obviously your animation career has started from let's say, not saying you're old, but it's like let's say from pixels to creating faces on a video game with pixels to where you are now using AI and various animation tools. What kind of software do you use, and how do you keep yourself relevant on that stage?
Well, look, the one thing I'll always talk about is story first, software second.
Yeah.
The job defines the tool. Like literally, we're trying to take people on a journey through various different things. We're animating robots, we're animating stuff for you guys. It's very, very varied. So we choose the right tool for the job.
Yeah.
So it crosses many programs: Cinema 4D, Max, Houdini. We choose the right program to fit that job and what we're trying to communicate. So the difference, I guess, between us is we understand the time and attention to detail that your team have put into things, and we're able to take that time and attention all the way through into the story. So we look at the way things are made, we understand the materials and finishes, and we'll choose the right program to express the vision. And yeah, it's trying to take a vision from someone like yourself and try and enhance it even further so it fits what you're trying to communicate. So story over software every time.
Yeah, that's great.
In terms of AI, honestly, everyone will be using it. We use it more as a storyboarding tool. When we're looking at the accuracy that clients such as yourself need, we are animating those things. We're using procedural kind of techniques. So yeah, to have the control and accuracy, we have to do that. AI is great to communicate a story, but at the moment, it's not quite there in terms of accuracy.
Yeah. And you see that. I mean, you really, if you're working in this area, you really see the things that are AI generated. You do still see the difference.
Yeah, I mean, when we know a designer spent months and months and months creating this thing, and they've done 0.1 of a millimeter edge on something, AI isn't going to see those things. It's going to generalize. We understand that those things have been sweated over, and we want to represent that quality of detail. Yeah. So yeah, it's still a craft for us. Yeah. So we make sure we're hands-on with animation as we are with industrial design.
I think there's that element as well, isn't there? The humanity in especially when I see some of the renderings you create, there's sometimes also the perfection and the imperfection as well. Like you say, because there are some intentional things that you would do if you're designing something that at this stage, let's say at this stage, because probably in the future it will change, but at this stage at least, there's that human element to that design and the materiality and how things come together in insect. Like you say, if you generalize, you do miss those elements, those subtleties.
Yeah, there's so many shortcuts now, and I think it's just reminding people to not take those all the time. Reminding people that this is a craft and a skill, and yes, you can take those shortcuts in certain areas, but to get the quality that our clients are looking for, honestly, it is one of those things you've got to get your hands dirty and actually create it. Yeah. I'm sure at some point things will change, and literally every week it is. Yeah. We are on the top of that, but we still want to create that crafted execution, whether it's an animation or an experience or a piece of industrial design.
Yeah, and so I guess still some long hours and late nights putting in the hard work for this stuff.
Well, look, less so than it was.
Yeah. True.
less so than it
Yeah.
was. And I think, to be honest, we've always been trying to educate and create that elite team. So we're very efficient at what we do now. So the major thing is aligning with the creative direction of the various places that we work for. And once we've got that and we have their trust, we can execute those things pretty well these days.
I bet. So look, so obviously you've run lots of different, and now you're onto your new business, but like you've got all this, let's say, history of running these very successful businesses and having incredible relationships and long-term relationships with these clients. And you've mentored lots of designers over the time as well. What advice would you give to designers or teams today, and what kind of qualities are you looking for when you interview young designers coming through?
Yeah. Well, I'd say live it before you design it. Kind of, we touched on this before, that there's so many shortcuts now. Don't forget the craft. It's really beautiful to walk into our studio and see everyone in the workshop, rather than creating a quick AI image. It has its uses, but don't forget the craft. That's one of the key things that I would give some advice to.
So what kind of qualities would you look for somebody, say if somebody wanted to join your studio, what would you be looking for? A certain skill set? Like, are you still looking for sketching? Are you still looking for communication? What elements are you looking for?
We're really people over portfolios.
Okay.
Character over talent. Honestly, with the work that we do, we genuinely want a good person creating these futures that we create. So I would say one of the key skills is having adaptable empathy. So not having your own agenda, me. It's understanding who we're working for, appreciating the culture of those companies, and helping them make better decisions. That's one of the biggest things, adaptable empathy.
And in terms of physical skill set, are you looking for people that are good communicators verbally? Are they good visualizers? What's an important kind of tangible skill that you would look for?
Honestly, the ability to absorb information and create tangible ideas. I think we have some people who are amazing sketchers. We have other people that are ideas people. Honestly, we've always said to our staff, you create your job, right? You are you, and then we will support you being who you want to be. So essentially, we can see the talent in people, whether it's a tangible sketching skill or someone who loves research or someone who loves like animation. We basically work with them and like empower them to develop those skills.
Yeah. I think that's the nice thing, isn't it? And what's really exciting about our industry is now there are literally so many avenues. And we had Dick Powell on a short while ago. I was with Dick at Goodwood actually. Dick Powell, he was a guest on our podcast, and he often talks about having some skills that you really master. And there are so many different types of skills, especially now, like you say, you can storytell. That might have been that you're an amazing sketcher, but now you might storytell with using AI. But it's still about the thought process behind that is the value in which it should create, let's say, to the people who you intend to use. So and like you say, in research, we have a process at Lixil that we use called pre-search, where it's all about information gathering. So we gather all this information at the beginning. We don't do that comparative stuff, which I hate. Two products, it does one look better than the other, and and it's kind of irrelevant. So we do all of our stuff up front, ethnographic research. We do lots of different types of things, and like you say, we live very much in this tangible space. So our designers go all over the world to trade fairs, whether that's Milan Design Week or whether it's an architectural fair or an art fair or an automotive fair, but just getting involved and see what new materials are out there, how things and processes are being used, and then of course ultimately, like we said, this kind of concept and interest in ethnography and unarticulated needs of consumers, understanding things that people need before they know that or understand they need them. So you can delight them with new things. And the definition, I guess, of innovation is making something better, more useful, more purposeful, and often using technology to help enhance that. So that kind of thinking, pre-search we call it, I guess, is a similar process to what you use, right? So it's
I mean, we are so human-centered at what we do. We very rarely take a project where we don't get to do that research at the start and understand who's using it, how they're using it, what they say about it, and it quite often contradicts what they're actually doing.
Yeah.
So they think something's great, and then you can see them struggling with it. So, I think probably 99% of the work that we do, it has that human-centered design at the start of it. Yeah. And that unlocks so many opportunities. In terms of styling, it's the last thing.
Yeah.
We can all style something beautifully, but until there's a real use for these things and a real innovation or a real unique usability, we don't really get to that. That's the last part of the design process for us.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, so we've got a tradition on the podcast that we ask each guest 3 questions. So I'm gonna grab those questions. Whatever comes to the top of your head. But if you could pass down just one piece of advice to up and coming designers, obviously now you're getting older, you've got a lot of experience behind you. So if you could pass down one piece of advice to up and coming designers, what would it be?
Yeah, it is that live it before you design it. Don't be tempted to create shortcuts. Go for craft.
Okay. And I guess the thing is, we have this conversation about insight and empathy and all those things. You can design things that aren't necessarily for yourself if you have empathy. And there's, in my career, there was often this feeling that, oh, Paul, you're British, so you can't possibly design a thing for the American market or the Japanese market or the German market or whatever it was. But, I always push to say, of course you can, if you have insight and empathy and if you can try to work with other people, that you collectively bring a solution together. You don't have to have those things, or maybe it's a disability. What you need to do is really spend the time to understand how can I, with my skill set, and the knowledge and insight that I gain from other people who are living these things, you could create a tremendous thing that could help.
This comes down to that adaptable empathy that I'm talking about, not going into any project with your own agenda, understanding who, where, and what you're talking about, and listening first before you execute anything. And I think that's the biggest thing. We've never gone into a company telling them what to do before we've understood that company. And we've spent, like 10, 15 years designing projects or products with them before we started to really shape that company. Yeah. So, it's listening first, action second.
So adaptable empathy.
Adaptable empathy.
Love that. Okay, who is your ultimate design role model, apart from me?
Oh, damn, you got it. Look, honestly, we work in so many sectors. This is a difficult one.
Because obviously, look, you went to, like you said, you were taught by some of the great designers, right? So
I would say nature. It's just so adaptable, and every system feeds another.
Yeah. Okay, nature's okay.
Yeah.
It's true, actually, I guess. Yeah, we talk a lot about this thing about being inspired by nature, because there are often the answers are already there, and nature has the fortunate ability to use time, because it can evolve over millions of years, whereas we've had to kind of move in quite quickly and change things. But nature is definitely a good teacher. We have loads of our products that we rain showers and all different things, and many of the sources for how we bring water to consumers is literally come from nature. Waterfalls, rain sprays, mist, all these elements. But you're right, nature will always teach us the best way, right? Amazing. And but one thing I'll say actually as well is that you see now more and more with advanced production techniques, you start to see the ability. We got some products behind us today, of course, because we're down in our studio and stuff. But being able to bring in, with a mixture of different materials and some of those more natural materials now, I think you really create a closer connection to people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, amazing. Okay, so if you could design any object or partner with any brand in the world, and you partner with most brands in the world, so I'm interested to see how you answer this one. Who or what would you choose?
Yeah, I think any object that harmonizes nature and innovation together. I think the object matters less than the approach. Mm-hmm. It could be an agricultural robot. It could be a city infrastructure. The approach is the essential thing. And brand is very, very similar. Anyone who's genuinely committed to that cause of regenerative futures, trying to rethink and rescope a future that gives back. Yeah. There's various companies out there that do this. Patagonia are a good example. Yeah. So yeah.
I was going to ask actually, do you have any examples of things that have that perfect balance that you look at right now? Patagonia obviously is an incredible brand. Yeah. But are there any products on the market that you think to yourself, oh, that kind of embodies what those values are?
Well, that's the problem. I think everything's designed to sell. Everything's designed for a particular use. We're not thinking forward enough to think, what does that mean? How does this restore rather than just take and consume? So there isn't enough. I don't know what those would be yet. And that's why we're taking on this big venture of saying, let's create products that don't just extract, they actually give back. So you buy it and it does something more than just consume.
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess like sneakers, trainers and things like that. There's some products that, I know they've looked at in the future about kinetic energy and different things about how could we use human motion. It's such a wasted source of power, I guess. Hopefully one day we'll have a way to harness some of that. I'm not talking about the Matrix where we plug people into batteries, but it'd be really interesting, wouldn't it, if we could just harness all this residual power that's generated day to day by heat, by everything that we...
Yeah, these are the big topics. Yeah. We'll be looking at like water, food, energy, all of those areas, agriculture. You're kind of coming full circle. My RCA project was... wearables that use kinetic energy to power things. So yeah, I mean, it's a big subject and these are big topics. So yeah.
Okay, well, we'll watch this space, see how you get on. So I'm excited as well because it is a kind of new area to explore. So yeah, so good luck with that. The reason why we do this and we spend so much time and how we're able to do this is because very kind people like yourself, not paid to come here. You take time out of your really busy schedule. I know you don't often do interviews and you don't do podcasts and you don't do those things. I know you and your brother are incredibly humble. I'm going to push you more and more to share, because I think it's really important for the creative community that, people like us now that are a bit older and have, experience that we have to share. And because there's, especially now, the world more than ever really needs some inspiration, and we need to get younger people, I think, particularly young people, but not just younger people, practicing designers, to really empower them to do more and to approach design in different ways that could be more beneficial, perhaps to the planet or for humanity. And so any way that we can do that, I think is really good and inspire younger people, because we need lots of problem solvers in the world. So if we can inspire younger people to do these things, it's great. And it's people like yourself that do that. So thank you very much.
Appreciate it. It's been lovely to talk to you.
Cheers. Take care. Thank you so much for listening to Facets of Design from Lixor Global Design. Please be sure to subscribe, share and follow us on Instagram at Lixor Global Design. Stay tuned for more insightful conversations with innovators shaping the future of the creative industries.